Okay, now let's move to the example. I'm going to show you how to apply the variable force strategy in completing a full set of aggregate plan. So I've showed you the standard output calculation for example 10.7 and 10.8. So comparing these two examples, 10.7 is much more easier. So I'm going to use this example. So please refer to example 10.7. So the first sentence, the first thing given to you in the question is the name of the strategy. Okay, varying force strategy. So the question says Mayang Sari Corporation is in the process of preparing its aggregate production plan for the next 8 months. The company operates 26 days a month. So this is the first additional information. Presently, the company employs 60 workers who work 8 hours daily at a rate of 32 ringgit per day. So these are all the additional information. Standard output is calculated and set at 1.6 hours per unit. So we have calculated the standard output earlier. So the inventory carried forward from the previous month is 280 units. And the estimated demands are as follows. So you are given a table with the expected demand or the forecasted demand. But before that, please also take note on the inventory carried forward from the previous month, that is 280 units. So this is a very important information, 280 units of inventory carried forward. Okay, so now I have prepared a template for variable force strategy. It is a very straightforward template like this. Okay, so first thing that we have here is the standard output per worker. Okay, I have transformed. The one given in your textbook is in horizontal. I converted or transformed it into vertical. Okay, so first item here is the standard output per worker per month, which we have calculated. The second item is forecasted demand, and the last thing that we need to do is to determine the number of workers needed. So I have also included the equation here. I label this as item 1 Roman, 2 Roman, and how to determine the number of workers needed. It is you take forecasted demand divided by the standard output per worker. Okay, so standard output per worker we have calculated earlier. Okay, I have showed you how to calculate the standard output for example 10.7, and we got 130 units per month per worker. Okay, per worker. This is the most important thing. So 130 units will be transferred to the template. So you just write 130 units, which is this is the standard output that one worker can produce in 1 month. So you just write 130 units for every month. Okay, so as for the total, you just leave it blank. Now we go to the forecasted demand. Forecasted demand is given in the question. Okay, starting from May until December. Okay, so let's work month by month. Okay, first in May, okay, your forecasted or the forecasted demand given is 7,820 units. Okay, so by using variable force strategy, if the customers demand this much, the company needs to produce also this much. So by right, this is the amount of products that the company should use. But for the first month, there is something that you have to do first. That is, you have to consider the previous the stock from the previous month. That is the stock carried forward. So in this question, stocks carried forward are 280 units. So this is actually stock yang lebih daripada bulan lepas, which is April kan, kita start dengan May. So at the end of April, there are some excess of stocks. There is some excess of stocks, that is 280 units. So when it comes to May, kita akan bawa stock tu 280 units. So in May, actually the company does not need to produce this much, 7,820, because of kita dah ada stock of 280 units. So what we have to do for the first month only is to minus off the stock, minus off 280 units. Kenapa minus off? Sebab company does not have to produce 7,820 because kita dah ada sedikit stock kat kita. Okay, so this will give us a total of berapa? Okay, so in May after minus off the stocks carried forward, there is the company needs only to produce 7,520. So not actually the forecasted demand. We have to minus off, so the company needs to produce only 7,520. And for other months or the rest of the months from June until December, you just copy whatever given in the question. So there is an exception only for the first month. You need to consider the stocks carried forward from the previous month. So we copy everything from the question and it gives us a total of 64,630 units. So this is actually the total of forecasted demand. So when we take a total, we consider the first or the original amount of forecasted demand lah. So that's why we get a total of 64,630. Yeah. So now let's work on the number of workers needed. Okay. In May, the customers demand for 7,820 units, but we already have some stock, so the company or we need only to produce 7,520 units. One worker can produce 130 units. Seorang pekerja boleh keluarkan 130 unit. So how many workers are needed to get this quantity, 7,520? So how to get the number of workers? We just take this item, that is the forecasted demand, divided by 130. So in May, we require or we need to have 58 workers in order to get this much of quantity. Okay, kalau seorang dapat keluarkan 130, kalau kita ada 58 orang pekerja, then we can get this quantity 7,520 units. So for other months, you do the same thing. You just take the forecasted demand divided by the standard output. So we continue calculating 7,800 in June divided by 130, we get 60 workers required in June. 7,930 divided by 130 in July, we get 61 workers required, and we continue calculating until December. Okay, so that is for the first part. Okay, so the first part is only to determine how many workers required in order to produce that much of forecasted demand. Then from here, once we have determined the number of workers required, then we proceed to the strategy. Okay, as I said earlier, the concept of varied workforce strategy, when it comes to strategy to be used, there are only two strategies involved if we are using varied workforce. The first strategy is hire, second is layoff. Hire means to recruit workers ataupun untuk mengambil pekerja. Layoff here means to terminate the workers ataupun fire the workers. Hanya dua strategi ni sahaja yang berkaitan dengan varied workforce. Okay, so in order to complete the strategy ataupun to decide the strategy here, we need to refer to the current workforce from the question. Okay, I have noted here, refer to current workforce from the question. So you refer to the question, how many workers that the company currently has. So it mentions here that presently the company employs 60 workers. So at this moment the company has 60 workers, current workers 60. Pada masa sekarang ni, that is right before May, sebelum May, the company has 60 workers. So this is a very important information as well. So now let's start with May. We need to refer only to the last row over here. How many workers are needed in order to complete the strategy? Okay, in May, we have determined and we have calculated that we need only 58 workers. Kita hanya perlukan 58 pekerja sahaja untuk keluarkan 7,520 units in May. So now, we need 58 workers. That is in May. But currently here, you just assume that it is at the end of April. Okay, not May yet. Belum May lagi. Okay, so now we have 60 workers. Now when we go to May, we need 58 workers. So sekarang kita ada 60. Bulan May nanti, sekarang kita April, bulan May nanti kita perlukan 58. Then what should we do? Should we hire or should we lay off? Daripada 60 sekarang, that is April, bulan hadapan ataupun bulan May nanti kita perlukan 58 pekerja. Kita kena buang 2 pekerja. Okay, because from 60 60 to get 58, we need to lay off the workers. So we decide the strategy will be lay off for May. How many workers to lay off? 2 workers. Kenapa 2? Because sekarang ni kita ada 60 sekarang, April. Okay, sekarang. But we need 58. So we need to lay off 2. Then from 60 we minus off 2, we get 58. Okay, so settle for May. Now we go to June. Okay, for June, what we need to refer is not the current workers anymore. Ini kita pakai sekali sahaja, one time, only for the first month. To decide for the next month, the second month onward, we need to refer to the previous month. Kita refer previous month, kita ada berapa pekerja. So now in June, we need to have 60 workers. You look at the previous month, how many workers we have. So previous month is May. May we had 58 workers. In June we need to have 60. So from 58 to 60, should we hire or should we lay off? So we need to add. Add means we need to hire. Daripada 58 nak dapatkan 60, kita kena tambah 2 pekerja. So we should hire 2 workers. Once we choose hire, then there is no more lay off. Once we decide lay off, then there is no more hire. Dia tak boleh kedua-duanya serentak. Okay, you need to decide only one strategy. Now we go to July. We need to have 61 workers. 61. You look at the previous month, June. June we had 60 workers. So from 60 to get 61, what should we do? We need to add. To add means we need to hire. Hire how many? 1 worker. Then there is no layoff. So you do the same thing for August. August we need to have 64 workers. Look at the previous month, July we had 61. So from 61 to get 64, we need to add another 3. 3 workers must be hired. Then there is no layoff. So this part here, part ni it concerns with workers. Number of workers, not units. Okay, number of workers. September, we need to have only 58 workers because of customers' demand lesser than the previous month. So 58 workers, we look at the previous month. In August, we had 64. So bulan 8 kita ada 64 pekerja. Bulan 9 kita perlukan 58 sahaja. So we need to reduce or to minus off. Kita kena kurangkan number pekerja. So we need to lay off some workers. So 64 workers, to get 58 workers, we need to lay off 6 workers. 64, kita buang 6, kita akan dapat 58 pekerja. Okay. So then there is no hire. So from 58 to get 67 in October, we need to add 9 workers. Kita kena hire 9 pekerja. Okay. And then from 67 to get 62 workers in November, we need to lay off some workers. How many workers to lay off? 5 workers, and there is no hire. 62. Okay, to get 65 workers, we need to add 3 workers. So we hire 3 workers, then there is no layoff. Okay, so now we have completed the strategy. Very simple. Okay, so we add up all the hires and we add up all the layoff. Totalkan kesemuanya sekali. So in the end, we get total workers hired is 18 workers and total workers laid off is 13 for the whole 8 months period. Okay. Okay, so that is for the second part.